In the top stories, the Water Services Department is installing a new line to improve water supply in St. Peter's. CARICOM foreign ministers have condemned the United States measures against Cuba, and Israel has carried out strikes in Beirut and southern Lebanon among large-scale evacuation orders. Hello and welcome to the ZIZ Midday Major Newscast. Today is Thursday, May 28. I am Zai Hendrickson. Locally, the government says work is on the way to improve water supply to St. Peter's and nearby communities as the Federation continues to experience an extended dry spell. During a site visit with Prime Minister Dr. Terence Drew on Tuesday, water engineer Cromwell Williams said a new water line has been installed to bring additional water from a pump in the Bastia Valley to help boost supply to St. Peter's. Williams said crews are now completing stabilization work, including concrete reinforcement, before water can begin flowing through the system. He said once the concrete hardens over the next few days, additional water should be sent to the community. Officials say the work forms part of broader efforts to improve water resilience as the country experiences one of its driest periods in recent years. Williams said rainfall in April was just 1.5 inches, about 62% below normal, reducing water from sources such as Green Hill, which supplies parts of St. Peter's and the surrounding areas. Prime Minister Dr. Terence Drew said these challenges highlight the need for continued investment in water infrastructure as well as climate resilience. Continuing locally, the government has responded to questions surrounding its decision to deny entry to Nigerian nationals, saying the move forms part of heightened public health measures linked to Ebola concerns. In a statement, authorities said non-nationals arriving from countries considered high risk will not be permitted entry as the health officials work to reduce possible exposure to the virus. The government referenced a risk advisory from the Nigeria Center for Disease Control and Prevention, which has warned of a high risk to Ebola importation due to continued transmission in parts of Africa and travel to major transport hubs. Officials noted that Nigeria has not recorded a confirmed case linked to the current outbreak, but said the advisory has informed local screening and border control measures. Health authorities have confirmed that there are no suspected or confirmed cases of Ebola in St. Kitts and Nevis, and say the overall risk to the public remains low. Continuing on the local scene, the Department of Creative Economy has partnered with Caribbean Cable and Telecommunications Association, or the CCTA, to launch the inaugural Rising Stars initiative aimed at developing local creative talent. Officials say the program brought together content creations and industry professionals for training, working, and practical knowledge sharing. Dion Baptiste Clark, speaking on behalf of the Department of the Creative Economy, said the initiative and the interest has exceeded expectations.
Initially, this initiative was targeting 30 creators from St. Kitts and Nevis, but because we had such an overwhelming response, we had to up that number to 40. Initially,
said participants were also given the opportunity to connect directly with experienced professionals in the creative industry.
And quite several others who have been here interacting with our local creatives, sharing real-world insights that our creatives have given feedback that it's actually one of the best workshops of this nature that they've been able to attend, because based on the feedback that we've gotten, they appreciate the opportunity to have intimate sessions with these experts who have been very open in sharing the information based on their lived experiences.
She said the initiative is expected to expand across the region, adding that local content creators will still have opportunities to participate even if future events are held outside St. Kitts and Nevis.
This is going to be a roving event within the region, so while fingers crossed hoping that it's actually going to happen next year, it may not necessarily be in St. Kitts. That does not mean though that our local creators will not be able to participate in and benefit from the information that would be shared.
Officials say the Rising Stars initiative represents a continued investment in the development and visibility of creative talent across St. Kitts and Nevis as well as the wider Caribbean. Moving on the regional scene, Foreign Affairs Minister from CARICOM on Wednesday voiced profound concern over what they described as escalating economic, commercial, and financial measures imposed on Cuba by the United States. However, Ghana and Trinidad and Tobago reserved their positions from the collective statement issued by the CARICOM Council for the Foreign and Community Relations, COFCOR. The two countries are members of the U.S.-led Shield of the Americas Alliance, a regional security initiative launched in March 2026 involving 17 countries across the Western Hemisphere, focused on intelligence sharing, counter-narcotics operation, transnational organized crime, and migration security cooperation. In a statement, COFCOR said the growing economic pressure on Cuba was worsening humanitarian conditions and affecting Caribbean nationals residing or studying there. Moving on regionally, Prime Minister Philip Pierre says his government will approach any discussion on restoring capital punishment in St. Lucia with great caution, as public calls for the returning of hanging continues to grow. The issue has gained national attention following the killing of a 24-year-old woman whose body was found inside a vehicle last week. Authorities say the woman's estranged husband has since surrendered to the police. Prime Minister Pierre said many citizens have been urging the government to reintroduce the death penalty. However, he said the issue involves legal, ethical, religious, and international considerations that must be carefully examined. St. Lucia's last execution took place in 1995, and the country has maintained a de facto moratorium on capital punishment since then. The Prime Minister also defended the country's justice system and law enforcement agencies, saying investments have been made to strengthen the judiciary and to provide crime prevention through intelligence-led policing. He then added that CCTV surveillance systems are operating across the country, with plans for additional cameras to be installed. The debate comes as several Caribbean nationals and nations continue to face concerns over the violent crime as well as public safety. Moving on internationally, Israel has carried out a new wave of airstrikes across southern Lebanon, including targeted attacks in Beirut, as tensions with Hezbollah continue to escalate. The Israel Defense Forces said the strikes targeted Hezbollah infrastructure after issuing a large-scale evacuation order for the communities of the Zarari River. Lebanon Health Ministry said at least 11 people were killed in the latest attacks, whilst additional reports indicated that a family fleeing the area was also struck. Videos from the southern city of Tyre showed buildings collapsing, fires, and residents evacuating amid the continued explosions. Local authorities said shelters in Sidon have reached full capacity, with many displaced residents now being advised to travel further north to Beirut. The escalation follows an announcement by Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu that Israel would expand its ground of operations after Hezbollah has done its attacks. Hezbollah and Israel have accused each other of repeatedly violating a ceasefire agreement that took effect in April. The International Committee of the Red Cross has warned that conditions in southern Lebanon are nearing what it calls a, quote, perilous tipping point, end quote, for civilians. Continuing internationally, authorities in Kenya have confirmed that 16 students were killed after a fire broke out at the boarding school in the town of Gilgil, northwest of the capital, Nairobi. The blaze occurs during the early hours of Thursday at Utumishi Girls Academy while the students were still sleeping in their dormitory. Kenya's Education Minister Julius Ogamba said the fire destroyed the first floor of the building, which housed more than 200 students. Dozens of other students were injured and taken to the hospital for treatment, while authorities continue to account for all students who were at the school at the time. Officials say the cause of the fire has not yet been determined and investigations are still underway. Parents as well as relatives gathered outside the school as emergency teams continue to search and to continue recovery operations. Kenya has experienced several deadly school fires over the past years, with overcrowded dormitories, safety failures, and cases of arson also cited as contributing factors. Government officials have extended condolences to the families of the victims and called for calm investigations as they continue. Here's a look at the weather forecast for St. Kitts and Nevis. Weak instability lingering across the area, combined with low-level moisture moving through the wind flow. These could trigger periods of passing showers across the Federation. Today will be partly cloudy with a 40% or a moderate chance of showers. Tonight will remain partly cloudy with a 40% or moderate chance of passing showers. Daytime temperatures are expected to reach a height of 32 degrees Celsius or 90 degrees Fahrenheit, while overnight temperatures will fall to a low of 25 degrees Celsius or 77 degrees Fahrenheit. Winds will be from the east to at 9 to 18 miles per hour or 15 to 13 kilometers per hour. Seas will range between 3 and 5 feet or 1.5 meters. Sunset today is at 6:40 p.m. and sunrise tomorrow will be at 5:30 a.m. And that brings us to the end of the Midday Major Newscast. Join us this evening for these stories and more. Thank you for tuning in. I'm Zai Hendrickson.